Good morning and welcome, or it might be afternoon or evening, depending on when you're watching this. Welcome to our Taking the Lead video interviews. One of the joys of this is that you get to interview your friends, so it's a good gig, right? I am so thrilled to introduce to those of you who don't know her, Michelle Egan, APR, fellow PRSA. I believe in sharing those initials because, she's earned them. She is one of our national PRSA board members. In fact, she's our treasurer. And she is the CCO, Chief Communications Officer of Alyeska Pipeline Service, and is coming to us from Anchorage. So welcome, Michelle Egan.
Thank you. And thanks for having me. What a pleasure. It's good to see you and be part of this.
Great. So we're going to dig right in as we always do. We're all facing as communicators, but I think especially as leaders, some unprecedented times, uncertain times.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing to lead your various team members through something no one's ever experienced?
Right. You're right. This is a very unusual time. And what's interesting about the company that I work for is we run the oil pipeline that goes from the North Slope of Alaska to Valdez. So it is the only way to move oil through the state of Alaska. And so we are considered critical infrastructure. So it's a challenging time. We have to continue to do our work and deliver the things that people expect from us. At the same time, we're dealing with all of the fears and anxieties and odd situations that everyone else is. I serve on a number of teams inside the company and of course outside the company. You mentioned PRSA. I think the most important thing right now for leaders is clarity, clarity, and repetition. We have really got to recognize that people are, they're overwhelmed with information. They can be overwhelmed with emotion. That's normal. And they just need to hear what we have to say over and over and over again. And so some of the things that you've taught me about having a vision and making sure that people understand that and that you're at the front of the pack leading. Those things are so important when we get into times of uncertainty or different operations, right? Unusual operational situations is how we would term it. So clarity and repetition for leaders is absolutely the most important thing.
Yeah. It's one thing to say social distancing and it's another thing to say keep 6 feet apart. Okay, now I know what you mean. That's
right. And especially when you're leading a team of communications professionals, we are in overdrive in situations like this. We have, a lot of need to see what's going on in the outside world and then come back in and bring that to our organizations or to our clients if you're on that side of the business. And that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of time. I think people don't realize what communications professionals do in these circumstances. And it takes a lot of energy, and we have to really care for our teams and for ourselves.
Talk about essential workers, right?
I
You
think
are an
so.
essential worker.
I
So you
think so.
mentioned, how we take care of our health ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing to lead yourself through this?
Probably not enough. I think self-care is really important. There have certainly been times when my team has a meeting and I have someone on my team who leads the staff when I'm not available or when I'm involved in more executive team opportunities. And so she's really stepped up. I like to be on those meetings. I have to recognize when I'm not in the right frame of mind to do that. And so sometimes I just step out and collect my thoughts. One thing we have to do is we have to see what our team needs, and we can't do that if we're not fresh and rested. So I don't feel fresh and rested right now, but I see the need and I'm doing what I can to get out and take a walk, stop and do a short bit of meditation, get some exercise, sweat a little bit. And these are seem like simple things, but they really are important. When you're leading, you have to look out for yourself, because you can't take care of the needs of other people and then get them to be productive in these times. The other thing is, we as leaders really need to have perspective and bring perspective to the people that we're leading. And so I have been trying to get that perspective by reading what's happening in my industry, by participating in conference calls and things that are outside of my own company, because that's where I hear what other people are doing, where I hear what the perspectives are, and I can bring that back to my team. Certainly, PRSA has a lot of resources available right now and has really stepped up in terms of giving people the tools to learn about how to work through this. But what's really great is the community. So the forums and the communities on PRSA are really where people are engaging with each other, getting some social outlet, asking hard questions, and getting answers. And so I've been doing that as well.
Yeah, no, I think so much of what you said resonated. Two that really popped out are the notion of, if you're not in leadership mode, if you're not ready at that moment, step outside, do some self-care, take a walk, do some breathing, because and this is interesting because even during a podcast, our printers go and people print from other places. We're all working from home. So there
Just
you
breathe.
go. There you go. We're working from home. I didn't imagine that would make noise, but it brings a little levity. But getting back,
Absolutely.
two things. So when you're not ready to lead and lead effectively, to step out, because that's a sacrifice you can make for your followers. Lead when you are in that moment. And I've been a big endorser of, servant leadership, leaders as servants, sort of thing. So I think it takes some, and if it means missing a meeting, you'll lead in the next one. And the other thing you mentioned, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. And one of the things I've seen is that the step up that I have, the person who's like my number 2 on my team, we have to watch each other, right? And so she can lead and I can step out, and sometimes I see the need to step in and spell her. And that's something we just have to watch out for each other and be okay with. That takes a relationship. It takes time to get there, but just looking out for each other and saying, I'll take this one. You take the afternoon.
Yeah. I think the other mention of meditation, I never meditated. A little cynical about it. I actually started before all of this for some reason. You know why? The universe wanted me to start meditating. And I've been doing a serious meditation every day. And I know it's what's keeping me calm and centered and available. I know it, because every once in a while I'll think, I'm not freaking out. What is that about? I have every reason to. But I'm not, so that's good. Okay, last questions. What have you really learned about leadership in the past few weeks?
So a couple of things. One is that it takes tremendous patience, patience with yourself, patience with the other leaders around you who may be going through, human experiences as well. And then the other is that it's a marathon. And there's a lot behind that kind of marathon concept. So it's a marathon, meaning we have to pace ourselves as leaders. We have to see that other people are going to need to pace themselves. We have to understand what the goal is. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And in this particular situation, this is going to be a simmering, sustained situation for quite a while. I mean, it already has been, but it's going to continue. And we talk in our company about something called the marathon effect. And the marathon effect is where leaders see and experience what's going on long before everyone else. And sometimes we get too far ahead. So we have to recognize that marathon effect. So if you think about a marathon, never run one, but I can imagine one, right? You've got people who start and they're the front runners, and they are getting through the difficult parts of the race, and then they're seeing the finish line long before the folks who started last even really get to the midway point. And we're seeing different things as leaders, and we're ready to finish the race long before other folks have
Mm.
even gotten to what I would call Heartbreak Hill. And we can see that we need to see that we're farther ahead. And that's where that clarity and repetition comes back in, because we think we've said it once, or we think we've described the vision, but people who are way in the back of the race, they need us to help them finish.
Yeah.
Right? They need us to inspire them. They need us to not get to the place where we're like, well, what's the problem? Are we not there yet?
Right. Yeah.
Don't you understand? So we get further ahead. We have to bring the rest of the racers on through. So it's a marathon.
Yeah, and that's such a powerful visual. And the visual for me is, I've never run a marathon. I know you're shocked. And
Not
let's not run a marathon together.
exactly.
But at least you generally know the route. If you run the New York City Marathon,
Mhm.
you know that route.
Mhm.
This marathon, we don't know where it's going or when.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
it's this whole other layer that I think
Correct.
tests one's leadership skills. But that's a great point to bear in mind. We could
Mhm.
talk for an hour, but we're
Sure.
not going to. So I'm going to end on a high. Thank you so much. Every time we get to spend time together in person or virtually, I get a beautiful dose of calm-centered energy from you and
Thank
great
you.
learning. And I'm so appreciative that you shared your wisdom today.
Thank you. Keep up the good meditation practice. You've inspired me to get back on my seat.
Good. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.